But yes, everyone, thank you for coming. Welcome to Legends of the Sport, Black Pillars of UK American Football. And this edition, as Jochebed said, covers women, great women in the sport. I will introduce myself first. I am Shay. I am a former GB player, as well as a London Warriors, I want to say, vet. It's been a while. It's been like 10 years. So I'm definitely a vet at this point. And I am your host. That's me. For this amazing panel. And I will pass it over to
Delta. Hi, everyone. My name is Delta. I have been around for a minute, about 9 years now. Currently playing with the London Warriors, but I've also been involved in the GB contact team as well. And I'll pass on.
Hello, I am Tamara. I'm a flag player, so no contact. And I've been involved in the sport since 2019, so for about 5 years now. And I started at the University of Nottingham. I was actually doing athletics, and that's when they brought me in from track, because I was fast. I wanted to be a blitz, and then I ended up doing that for GB and playing for Hyde Park, and that's turned into Sax in the City. So yeah, but I'm currently taking a break, but yeah.
Thank you, which actually gets me into the first topic, which is how do we get women into the sport? Tamara, you mentioned that you were actually doing track. Delta, I know you didn't do as much flag, but you did a lot of contact. And myself, I actually started in flag, which is, again, like you, was an accident. I just randomly saw it on Twitter, and I thought, I can do this. I couldn't, guys. It was a lie. But I'm very glad that I actually tried something new, because I always wanted to try something new. And it's something that I would love for other people to do. But not everybody has that experience of wanting to try something new. So how do you think we can get women to get into American football?
I'd say it probably comes down to visibility, first and foremost. I think part of the problem is like people don't know what they don't know. So many times when you're like, oh, I play American football, people are like, that's a thing here. And I'm like, it's been a thing here, dog. Like, come on. But I think, especially now with, we've got more NFL games in London. Like before, it used to only be the case where you see people decked out in NFL gear, like when you're at the stadiums. But now I just see it on the high street. I see it out and about, and I'm like, wow, like people actually know the sport now. So now, hopefully, we'll sense like a little bit of a trickle down. Like people know more about the NFL, so then they might be more invested to maybe see what's happening in and around, the country or their cities, towns, communities, or whatever. But I think it mainly starts with visibility.
Yeah, and to piggyback off that, I feel like as well as us going into schools as well and starting with the younger generation, because if you think about it, like all of your favourite sports and things that we loved playing growing up, it started from school. And if I'd have known that flag football existed when I was younger, when I was in secondary school, I feel like I would have been way further than I was when I started at 19. And because I just enjoyed sports, I liked playing sports, and I didn't know what sport was for me. So that's why I went to track, because I was fast, but I didn't like the individuality of track. You train together, but then the whole, the whole race is on you. But I liked playing with the community as a collective. It's amazing how you can just come together, and there are so many people that have different strengths. And I feel like flag and contact, they both have spaces for so many different types of athletes, whether you're strong or you're fast. It's very diverse. And I think that's something that we need to push into schools so that you can show that you can be a different kind of athlete, and you can all come together to have the same, The same...
I was going to say struggle.
Yeah. The same struggle. Yeah. But you all want the same thing at the end of the day. The same goal. There you go. So yeah, I think it's going into schools, showing young people, and also the Olympics is coming up. Like if you're showing young people that in a few years' time, if you get good at this game, you have a chance to be in the Olympics. It's something that's very brand new. that's appealing to them. So I think that's another way to get them involved, letting them know that there's a future for this game. So
I love the fact that you said visibility, because anytime anyone asks me, how do I get to know about the sport, especially from a women's point of view, especially from a black woman's point of view, it's the visibility aspect. We're not in enough places. And yes, it is going to the Olympics, but then you have flag in the Olympics. I don't know if I would like to see contact in the Olympics, although I've seen those videos on Instagram, those little boys in the helmets and they're fighting each other. And I'm like, that's really cute. But I don't know if I want my child to be playing contact. So I really do like the fact that we're starting with flag, and flag is getting as much visibility as it is. But where do you see it going in terms of like the differences of flag and contact? How do we... What do you think are the differences, and how do you think they benefit us from a younger age into like us being full-fledged women in the sport?
I mean, aside from, that's like two questions in one. So I'll do the first one. The difference between flag and contact is obviously one you're getting hit and one you're not. And a lot of people think like, oh, if you're not getting hit, you're a bit of a wuss, whatever. And I used to think that, but I learned that that's not the case, because if you can't use your physicality to beat someone, you have to use your mind. You know, so you got to find another way to get what you need to get done, whether that be having a bit more speed, a bit more agility, a little or something like that. Because, you know, as I played most positions on defense, and we're all what less, okay? If you don't know what's going on, fling your shoulder into something and you'll figure it out type of thing. But you can't do that in contact, because it's non-contact, you know? So you kind of have to have your wits about you a little bit more, is one of the main things that I noticed. But as a flag athlete, what would you say?
I think another thing that I'm pretty much on the same page with you, really. Just the type of athletes that you get. With flag, it's so fast-paced. And even when you're a quarterback, it's crazy that when you're in contact, you have, you know, those linemen who are giving you the seconds rather, to figure things out. But with flag, you got a blitz coming at you, you've got 3 seconds. Unless you're a mobile QB and you're able to run and get that blitz off of you, you have to be able to just think on and just see the field straight away. So that's another thing. I feel like the pace of the game is a lot faster with flag. And I do think contact is more accessible to a diverse range of athletes compared to flag, because flag is basically made for like DBs and wide receivers and running backs. Let's be real. Like, you have to be fast. Because you can't stiff arm someone, you know, in flag. You can't, and contact, you know, you can't be having contact in flag at all. Otherwise, you're just gonna jeopardize the game. So, yeah, I think that's another main thing with contact and flag. But I think the community is still the same. Like, the support is still the same. And when you were talking about people think that people who play flag are, what was the word you used? Worse.
Because what I really want to say, I can't say on camera.
Yeah, that's another thing that really it frustrated me for a while, because I used to think about all these non-contact sports like football, basketball, tennis. When people get injuries from them, people are like, oh yeah, that's understandable. But when you tell someone you get injured from flag, they're like, what? How come? Because you're not playing contact, how are you getting injured? But it's still the same intensity, you know? Just because it's a non-contact sport doesn't mean contact doesn't happen here or there, or doesn't mean that it's not as intense. It's just different techniques. So,
would you try contact?
I have, and never again. Do you know what? I loved the protection. That made me feel great. But also because of the profession so I'm a performer when I'm not playing flag. So yeah. So I have to minimize the injuries that I get, really. So.
To be fair, with flag, because I started as a flag player many moons ago, I feel like when you do get injured in flag, it's your fault. Whereas, wait, let me land. But in contact, you can kind of like lie and like be like, oh, that person hit me though. Oh yeah, that's why I'm injured. Even though, yeah, but you can get away with it. But in flag, it's just you. No one touched you. You're actually just on the floor. Whereas contact, it's more like there was a collision of some sort, and you can kind of like.
Collisions in flag? Yeah. By accident.
Why you accidentally?
There absolutely are. I've been involved in this.
Yeah, maybe you should come to contact.
I don't like the idea of someone flying at me or run. No, I want to run, and if you take my flag, then I know I get the pop, and that's good enough for me.
To be fair, with flag, I feel like I learned more about the sport playing flag than I did contact. So you have to know your routes and your playbook when you're doing flag, because you don't have, like you said, with a QB, you don't have that protection, you don't have that extra time. You literally have the seconds before the ball comes out to be where you're supposed to be. And it's more noticeable when you're a flag player that you've done it wrong. Whereas if you're a contact player, everybody that knows me, when in doubt, do a slant. Nobody will come and tell you anything, because when in doubt, do a slant. Nobody would clock. But in flag, it's just you and 4 other people. Everybody saw that you did the wrong play. But I learned a lot, and that's what I applied to contact once I learned the basics, but also the agility and the positioning you have to put your body in without all of that protection weighing you down is amazing. But then once you have the pads, you have to think strategically, like Delta said, where you then need to go, okay, I've got this extra weight, I have to accommodate that, and then also know that the person in front of me is going to hit me. And you don't have that in flag. So I feel like I benefited from playing both, which I'm grateful for, having the come up of flag into contact. And I feel like that's what we should be promoting in schools, outside of schools. But how do you both think that we can make it grow? Like, what do you think? Because right now we're in a predicament, as you said, where we see people on the road, at work, in the grocery store, wearing jerseys, wearing like merchandise from the NFL. We see the games 3 times a year now, and it's packed. The stadiums are packed. You see real life fans that have been here for years. And where were they before? Because before I played the sport, no one played the sport. Now I play the sport, everyone's telling me, yeah, I played in uni. Yeah, I played with my team on a... Where was this? All I ever heard about was rugby and football and the normal UK sports. So how do you feel like we can push the sport to grow specifically for women? Because I feel like men, they've got themselves. We have to think about the other side, because we are growing and doing amazing things as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think it starts with grassroots development, for sure, like getting into schools. But that would apply for like kids of any gender. If we're going to talk specifically about the young girls, then there's a level of education and, for lack of a better word, reassurance. Because especially as kids grow up, there was a study that said, as kids grow up and they start to go, as women grow up and they start to go through puberty, the percentage of kids that participate in sports drastically drops off, because they don't feel comfortable, they're on their periods, this and that and the other. So there's a level of nurturing and reassurance for like the young girls of like, it's okay if you're on your period, it's okay if your boobs are hurting, it's okay, like it's okay, you can still participate, and there's value and there's health in that participation. And it goes back, like I said, to the grassroots developments. And that's where I see the real value in flag. Because I'm not going to lie, the chance of me playing flag ever again is very slim to none. I'm so sorry. But it's like you were saying before, you don't want your child, like you want the sport to grow, but you wouldn't want your child at the age of 6 to be whacking another child with a helmet, or to get whacked by another child with a helmet on, I would be proud. So, but this is true. I'm like, this is why I'm saying I can't play flag, because I would be like, but flag has that accessibility where you don't have, the risk is drastically lower. You don't have the issue of coming home and your 7-year-old is dealing with a concussion. You know what I mean? Like, all you need is a pair of cleats, gloves, and a belt. And it's something that most schools should have access to in some way, shape, or form, either through government funding, community partnerships, teams in the local area, should be able to give them about, 30 flags. So it's that, community partnerships, probably another answer to that question then. Getting engaged with teams in and around the school. Like, I know we're based down in Selhurst, there are a bunch of schools around there. And in the vicinity and in the south and stuff like that, and pairing that with the government funding. But I think from there, people tend to learn a lot from their kids as well. Mm-hmm. Like you'll pick up your kid from school. Like I used to pick up my niece from school, and she'd be like, "Oh my gosh, auntie, this," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? That's a thing?" And I'm like, "How does this 4-year-old know more than I do? That's very embarrassing." very embarrassing. But the kids just absorb so much. So, getting them involved in these kinds of things while they're young is really what's going to set up the trajectory for the sport for success, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree, to be fair. And I also feel like what you mentioned about like government funding and social partnerships, they're so vital for helping the sport grow, because at the end of the day, those are the sort of things that will help us get that boost of getting the coverage out there so people can see it and just making it more visible. So I think it's just really something that we need to find a way to I've lost my track of thought now. Anyways, that's basically what I was going to say, the same thing. And also just in terms of making the sport grow for women as well and giving them that reassurance, and just going into schools, creating those like all female participation games and going into PE classes as well. I think it's just really important to let them know that this is a space for you, because let's be real, like American football was a men's game. It started off NFL, men's games, that sort of like society and community. And now that it's finally growing and we're seeing more female participation, we need to reassure them that this is a space for you as well. And it is men that need to give us that support as well. And I think sometimes the community can underestimate the importance of their validation and their support in female settings. So I think it's just important to get it out there that if you do know a community or you do know a team or you know a player that you can support, just do it, because there's no harm, and you know that you can. Whether that not even doesn't have to be financially, but if you know that you have a platform to put them on, like, it's just so important, because it's just that one thing that might build another thing, and next thing you know, all those bricks create the wall. So, yeah.
It's funny you should say that, because coming into the sport, it was males and men that were already in the sport that gave me that validation. I mean, shout out my head coach, because without him installing that reassurance in me and letting me know that it's okay, I probably wouldn't have played the sport for as long as I would have. And even now, I've only ever played under him, and I couldn't see myself not playing under him, because I had that safe space at the beginning. Even like after flag, he helped me through contact. He continuously fed and poured into the women without then comparing us to the men, and that is what helped our team specifically grow amazingly. And he has birthed a lot of amazing athletes across the country. But not just him. We've had an array of many male coaches that have come to our team. I've seen them go to other teams. I've spoken to other players that can vouch for men that have seen them. And I feel like we're not seen enough. And it's not someone shouting from the rooftops. It's literally someone coming to have that conversation with you and say, I see you. I'm going to listen to you regardless of the surroundings that we're in. And that is actually what births a lot of players to keep playing. People miss the point of, I feel like with women, we play the sport differently to men, even though we're playing the same sport. Like, just the way we hit each other. Men will hit each other like there's no tomorrow. Like, they don't have work. Like, they don't have a family to go home to. What is going on? The way I see them, I'm scared. I watch the sport and I'm scared. Watching women play the sport is like art. We play the sport to play the sport. We know that, yes, someone might be on their time of the month. Someone might have sore parts of their body, but we're hitting cleanly. So we have the extra thought of, I'm going to hit that person, but it's going to be cleaner than just whacking them and pectorials and arm muscles and that's what it feels like. It's the That is what I feel like when I'm watching the men. And like, if anybody hasn't or gets a chance to watch women play, you'll see the beauty of the sport. I just feel like maybe it's like the maternal thing we give off. Like, we play the sport because we love it. There's no end goal for us. We do it because it's genuine love for the game. I don't feel like the Jaguars are coming to sign me to be the tight end because I could be like on the team note. Anyway.
That's probably unfortunate in and of itself, the fact that you're playing knowing that the Jags will never sign you. Yeah. Like, how is that still our reality? We've been playing for almost a decade and we still have no chance of making it global. Whereas, I was like, should I say this? But I'll say it with my entire chest. There are some guys that play across this country that I can confidently say a lot of us women would be better at, but they would get signed and not us. You know what I mean? Like, so there's still a lot to do. There's a lot that's been done, but there's still a lot to do because the talent, the pool of talent, of female talent within this country, both across flag and contact, is immense, you know, and like ever so slightly, bit by bit, like it's starting to translate and get a bit more traction. You know, young Ruby on the GB team, she's going over to, where's she going? Atlanta, somewhere? Mm-hmm. Great, amazing. I need more of that. I need to be seeing those posts on a weekly basis. You know, I can't be seeing one every 6 months. It's very depressing, you know, because like you said, we do this for the love of it, but a little recognition it's not harmful. You know, it shouldn't be too much for us to have an opportunity to do what we love to do in a professional stage. You know, like we shouldn't have to beg for it, but sorry, completely hijacked you there.
To be fair, that is still quite on topic with where I was going to go to next, because we've all been part of the camps that come to London when the NFL teams come here. We've been part of the community projects that the NFL flag does when the Jets and Bears girls do their projects. We've all been part of it. I feel like I gain a lot of satisfaction from pouring into those girls and them being able to speak to us as real life players, as opposed to someone that's just paid to be there. Because a lot of it, we're not paid. And as you said, Delta, we are as good as those men that are getting signed and flued out to different countries to play this sport. And we're doing it for free and growing the sport more within other non-conventional spaces. So my question to you both is, what are you seeing, or what do you think is coming out of you being part of these NFL camps, community days, NFL flag days?
I mean, it links to what I was saying before about visibility, but it's also representation. Because I'm not only a woman or a black woman, but I'm a plus-size black woman, you know? And a lot of the time when you're talking about sport, you're like, oh, I have to have a certain type of body type to play the sport. But I've done netball, I've done gymnastics, I've done trampolining, I've done track, I've done it all. But I've also been plus size my whole life, pretty much. I've always been a chunky kid, you know? I can say it now that I'm older without trauma, but I've always been a chunky kid, you know? But now I'm a little thickums, and it's great, but I can still perform on the field, despite all of that, despite everyone and anyone who might have said otherwise. I said I might have had to lose weight or to do this and to do that, but I can still do a double somersault and trampoline. Don't question it, okay? But I think having those girls come to those events and see someone who looks just like them, despite everyone who might have told them that people who look just like them won't be able to do it, and having them, it's so weird. Like, some of these girls will look at you, will be starstruck, and you're like, why are you looking at me like that? Because it's sometimes difficult to grapple the impact that you have on these young girls when you're really just kind of just going to you know, run a couple drills, you know, chill out with some, because we're all friends that do these kinds of events. Like, we all know each other. So it's easy for me to think of it as just another event, or like another thing I go to chill with people and do a couple drills. But like, as you leave and the kids are high-fiving you, and some kids will come with their scraps of paper and their glitter paints, can I have your autograph? And you're like, damn, like, these kids actually, like, they see us, you know, as role models of sort, and it's wild.
Crazy.
Me. Me. Can't remember the weak slant from the strong slant half the time. Like, it's wild, but that level of representation, I think, is immensely important, and it's something that I didn't have in growing up in sports and stuff like that. So now that I guess have the opportunity to maybe be that representative for some kids, like I would be doing like a disservice to not only myself or the sport, but also the kids if I didn't kind of take that opportunity to do it.
Yeah. I'm with you there as well. But also in that sense, I love going into these camps and seeing, even though there's so many, like, sometimes there's a lot of just young boys, and I'm there as one of the coaches, as a woman, and I feel so, like, just ready to show them that women can also play, can be coaches, and just, I don't know, it's just something so empowering that I just feel they need to see more of. And I definitely do sometimes sense the different kind of behaviours to me as a female coach compared to my male counterparts. It's not always apparent or prevalent, but sometimes it's there. And I think it's just really important to be that person to show them that there are different kinds of people that can coach you regardless of gender. And when it comes to girls as well, because I think I'm quite a girly person. Like, I've got two brothers, so I've got like both sides. So when I'm playing sports, that's definitely my more masculine side. But like, I'm a performer. I love singing. I would love to be a cheerleader. You know, obviously that's not gonna happen. But I love all sides of the sport. And sometimes when I'm talking to these girls and they're telling me about their interests and how they like all of these different things that are seen as girly or feminine. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I like that too. But then like, wait, but you're sporty. And I'm like, yeah, you can be both. You don't have to have one side to you. So it's nice to have those conversations with them and for them to realize that you can have many different palettes as a person and as a young woman. You don't just have to be sporty. You don't just have to be seen as the tomboy. You can be a tomboy and still like pink. You can be a girly girl and still want to play American football. Like, it's like not confining yourself to these categories. So yeah, I feel like growing up, I never wanted to be in one specific box. I was always that kid that tried so many different things. And I'm happy that I luckily had a mum that never discouraged me from doing that. She wanted me to try everything. And I always wanted to beat my brothers as well. That's why I got into American football, because they play football and they thought that I was not as sporty as them because I was their sister. So I said, okay, watch, I'm going to do better than you in this sport that you've got no idea that you like. Next thing you know, I'm playing Team GB. They're still playing for their local teams. So yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting to show people that you can have these multiple sides to you and it doesn't define you.
I love that both. I love those answers because I definitely relate to both of them. And to add on to that, I feel like for women, American football is the sport you can come to at any size, shape, form. And there is something for you on the field. When I started and I was a bit bigger, I was on O-line. I was like, fair, because a lot of capacity. I didn't really want to run. It was a good shout, but then I was like, I want to go somewhere else. That just meant I'd have to add a bit more cardio to my life, which was a struggle. But we got there in the end. But I was never told that I couldn't be any position on the field, and thankfully I've tried all of them and I've taken myself back to the line, but I was able to try that regardless of what my body shape was. It was how much I wanted it as opposed to what I looked like. And a lot of other sports, women have to look a certain way. Like you, Tam, when I grew up, I did all sports. I was fast. I was the skinny girl in school. I just run. I was just running. I mean, it's kind of like my life now. I kind of just still just run. Regardless if I'm on the field or not, I just like to run. But I had to be in shape to do track. When I did gymnastics, I had to stretch. I had to have my flexibility up. In football, flag or contact, I just have to come and want it more than the other person. The only reason I feel like I have succeeded more is because I wanted it more. And then you have every other person on the field that wants it as much as you do, and you make yourself great, as opposed to just having separate individuals. Like you said, with track, it's just you and you alone. You don't have that sisterhood, brotherhood that you have on the field. And something I have definitely loved about this sport is the sisterhood, because in contact, you all know you're going to get beat up. But if you all go in there together to know you're going to get beat up together, it's easier to take the bruises, because you come back with your friends, you're like, oh, look at my bruise, oh, look at your bruise, oh, bruise gang. That is what you're doing. And the same with flag, it's like you're laughing on the field, but the person on the opposite side to you still has that same mindset of, we want it. Like, and that's just a beautiful thing, I feel like, has opened up for myself, and what I feel like I pour into the kids that we coach, the kids that we see on a regular basis at these camps, and especially as women, because usually it's like you said, it's that one girl in the crowd full of boys that is looking at us like we are superstars, and we're just there like, do, happy to be here, good day out to do some drills. But that one girl is going to take away from her that I saw women teaching us. It wasn't men who I see on the TV, who I get told about, who are the stars, the people that you get posters of. It's just women that will go to their everyday lives. And we look like them as opposed to looking like someone far-fetched from them. I feel like with us speaking about the things that we have gained from the sport, how do we envision, because I know it's a new era, it's a new dawn, we've got the Olympics coming up, how do you envision, or what is it you would like to see from the sport moving forward? Because I know we've covered visibility, we've covered having more community days in schools, but it needs to be a bit more. I know everyone says more, but what more would you like to see?
You're right. No, go for it. Yeah, I've been talking.
Since I joined this sport, I have always wanted to see it in universities in bucks. I don't know if that's going to become a thing soon, but it needs to be in both flag and contact. I know there aren't really many contact teams in universities, not that I know of, for women. There are a few?
Yeah, I played for one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you know what the maddest thing is, like, in this day and age, everything is so recent. Sorry.
Go.
Everything that's, like, the growth of the sport is, like, has been propelled so recently. Like, all the progress we've seen in the sport has probably only happened in, like, the last 4 or 5 years. That might even be pushing it. But there are uni teams, but I guess they're I think what would actually really help grow the sport is like a level of standardization. BAFA's regulated differently to Bucks, which is regulated differently to all sorts of stuff. NFL Foundation do their own thing. Sport England kind of just sprinkle funding here and there. But there's a level of standardization, because it's not a what do you call it, like a league or a body that we're growing. It's a sport, you know, and that encompasses everyone. So, sorry, back to you though.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like I wish it was taken more seriously in universities, because that's where I started. And I know that there are so many athletes out there that could get directed into flag football. It's funny, the way that a lot of my teammates at the time, a lot of them got rejected from the netball team. And they were great, but netball was just very competitive, oversubscribed. So you take the fallout, you still have amazing athletes, turn them into flag players, boom, you got a team. And I think we need to do that with so many more different sports in university. Because I think a lot of people don't realise how much fun they could have playing flag, because they don't know it exists, or if they do know it exists, they don't know what they're signing up for, or they don't know like where it's going to go. So that's another thing that we need to sort of tell them, that, you know, it's going to be in the Olympics, or just the community aspect of it as well. When I was traveling to play all these international tournaments, I made friends with almost all of the opposite teams. I made friends with people on the field. My competitors, we're clapping hands as like they're saying, "Oh yeah, nice, like flag or whatever." No, it doesn't happen. Maybe flag is really doesn't happen in contact. Fair enough. Wow. I mean, maybe not national teams. I don't know. Like when I was playing with Team GB, different story. But when I was playing with my UK team and we would fly out, yeah, definitely not like GB style. But still, it was just a great community, and I'm still friends with so many of them now. Some of them even come down, like they come and visit me, or
That's lovely.
yeah. No, but
That is, yeah, we don't have that. No, till the whistle. Enemies till the whistle. When the whistle goes, yeah. Hey, homie, but until that whistle, you're not my mate. We're not.
I can't be your friend if I'm trying to hit you.
Yeah, because then it's just,
I'm trying to out.
Yeah.
I'm friends with you.
It's not gonna
After
work.
the whistles will dap it up, but I'm trying to not keep it 6.
Yeah.
I can't mentally be friends with you. Like, maybe don't put that in the thing.
Yeah, play nice, be friends, spread the sport. That is good, but we've spoken a lot about the playing aspect, and I feel like we are missing a bit of what we do now, which is the coaching and the management and presenting. I feel like we play a lot, but we don't do the rest of it. So there's no one to pass it down. And I feel like that's where the cutoff is for women specifically, where we play, we retire, and we disappear. We don't have a lot of women coaches. We've all had the privilege of coaching. I've coached with some amazing coaches on uni teams, from grassroots teams, and women's teams, but I don't see many of myself there. I don't see people in management. I don't see people working for the NFL that are black women specifically. I don't see women that are coaches. We now have like amazing coaches like Georgia. Is that her name? Yeah, Georgia, who is doing an amazing thing for Bucks, but she's just one. I would love to see more people like her who are like aspiring in the sport, growing the sport. So as much as we do talk about playing, there are so many other avenues that I feel like we should be injecting women into, black women specifically, because we take the harshness with the love, but women in general.